Hello and welcome to the all-new series of the Cheltenham Raw, the show brought to you by oddschecker and pricedup.bet as we look ahead to the Cheltenham Festival in March and we kick off with a November meeting at Cheltenham this weekend. Yeah, this is the show where every week or most weeks we're going to be previewing the weekend's racing, but with a lens ahead to the big festival in March, seeing what pointers we can get as to what we can expect and any anti-post markets we can exploit in the process of doing that too. Over the course of the series, we will be analysing every single race that's priced up at the Cheltenham Festival in detail. But this time around, as it's the first episode, we're just going to be focusing on this weekend at Cheltenham. I'm your host, George Elek, and I'm delighted to be joined by Oddschecker's very own Andy Holding. Andy, how are you?
Very well. Yeah, good to see you again, George. It's been a while, but glad to
I
be
know.
back and a great meeting to come back to as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It always kind of feels like the jump season starting in earnest this weekend. And delighted to be joined by Ed Quigley as well. Ed, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, George. Yeah, 3 days of quality action, as I always say. Yeah, not long now, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, and as I say, this show is sponsored by pricedup.bet. If you haven't already got an account, make sure you do go and sign up for one. There'll be loads of new customer offers launching around Friday and Saturday, so keep your eyes peeled on their website and on their social media channel to see what those are. And I would fully recommend signing up. You can look at the price boost page as well, where they have various price boosts across different sports, and there will of course be price boosts that are put up over the course of the weekend as well. Racing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from Cheltenham Racecourse. And we've got a lot to get through. We don't want it to be a long show, so we're going to get launching into it straight away. But before we do, Ed, it's always handy having you on the show because you live in Cheltenham. So what is the weather like? What can we expect in terms of the ground?
Yeah, absolutely, George. Yeah, I'm just under a couple of miles from the track. Look, it was as of yesterday morning. It was good to soft, good in places. I mean, they abandoned the cross country or slash postponed the cross country because it was so firm, so hard. It's bizarre weather at the moment, isn't it, George? I mean, we've got Fairyhouse, Nottingham waterlogged in the last few days. We've had Taunton abandoned because it hasn't rained there for a month. It really is absolutely zany weather conditions at the moment. Now, Cheltenham has been very dry until the last 2 or 3 days. The rain has arrived yesterday afternoon, absolutely monsooned it down all day. Now, it was good to soft, good in places, and I'm just checking. There's been no bulletin as a weather update to the course since then. So look, it's probably you're working it good to soft at the time of recording, but there is more rain due in Thursday and a heavy band into Friday. So I can't see it getting much quicker than good to soft by the off. And if we do get the upper end of the weather forecast, you could be looking at genuine soft ground for the start of the meeting. So obviously we're a bit away from this from the start of the meeting, so a little bit of guesswork involved. But rain on the horizon, rain already arrived. We might actually end up with some inverted commas winter ground and to give the trainers no reason to make excuses not to run their horses.
Doesn't work like that, Ed. Right, let's get into the action now. And there are 5 races that are currently priced up on pricedup.bet. We've got the Veterans Handicap Chase and the Schlur Chase on Friday, the Paddy Power Gold Cup and the From the Horse's Mouth Hurdle on the Saturday, and then the Greatwood on the Sunday. But there are various other races that are priced up by the firms on oddschecker. So we're going to go do those 5 races in detail. Then I'll come to the guys and ask them for any other fancies they have, and I'll give you the best price that is there at the moment. And Priced Up will endeavour to match those as and when this show comes out. So do make sure before you go anywhere else, make sure you check Priced Up to see if they've matched the guys' selections and the best prices that are out there. Right, the veterans, Andy, come to you first. We've got joint favourites with Fugitive and Gunsight Ridge at 11-4. Lord Baddesley's 4-1. Eldorado Allen 9-2. Mr. Coffee 11-2. Can You Call 15-2. Twig 15-2. 9-1 bar those. It feels kind of fitting that we're talking about veterans first because the 3 of us have been doing these shows for about 5 years now, and it feels like we've kind of charted the progress of these horses for much of their careers. Andy, who do you fancy? Who do you think the value's here?
Yeah, well, given that you've introduced us as being veterans, and I'm probably the greyest of the 3 of you.
No, probably about that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'd probably look to tip in the one of the greys in the field, and that's Eldorado Allen. Just on the basis that the Tizard horses are in great nick, these kind of events are going to be more suitable to him nowadays than running in those premier handicaps like the old Hennessy. He was sort of applying straight in those races a year or 2 ago. He was always there or thereabouts. He was like 4th, 5th, but he just wasn't quite quick enough. I think they've realised that this is the lane he needs to be running in now. Didn't have a fantastic season last season, but similar to previous years, he was always knocking on the door. And he's got a similar profile to quite a few of these who've kind of lost their way a little bit. particularly Fugitive. I mean, this time last year, he was a strong fancy for the Paddy Power Chase, and he ran okay. His season didn't really go on. The soft ground will certainly help him if it does rain, admittedly. But I'm not too sure where we stand with him. Gunsight Ridge is probably better going right-handed, arguably, and he's got no real Cheltenham form as such. And nor is Lord Baddesley, who won well the other day at Newbury, but most of his best form's on a flat track. Twig, who won at Sandown the other day, he's unlikely to come here. I see him as more of a 3-miler. So we're not going to be left with a great deal to choose from here. So at the current price at the moment, in front of me, around about 6-1, I think, Eldorado Allen looks at a reasonable each-way bet.
Eldorado Allen 9-2 each way for Andy. Ed, how do you see this?
Yeah, no strong views on this. I was kind of, I put a line through quite a few of these. Eldorado Allen did make the short list of 2. It's been over 3 years since the last time the horse won, which is obviously an alarm bell, but this is much more suitable level, as Andy says. This Veterans Chase Series off 142. He's handicapped to go well on old form. He's won at Cheltenham before. Only slight reservation I've got is I did speak to Joe Tizard in person last week, and he said he thought perhaps he might just need it. Now, look, trainers can get things wrong, can't they? Quite a bit. I saw Ben Pauling for his horse when at Kempton the other day saying the horse would, quote, desperately need it, and it won, posted a career best effort. So, look, things do go like that. But just in the back of my mind, but other than that, Andy's right. This is a realistic assignment for Eldorado Allen now, where there's been quite a few races he's been in over the last year where he quite simply probably could not win. If the ground really does go to pot, I think Fugitive will win. I think the new course suits better than the old, which is a worry. But he's down to 145. If the mud does arrive, and I'm talking we get proper winter ground, it rains all week and we get softer, heavy ground on the old course, that'll really slow them up. He's now £6 lower than when he won the December Gold Cup at Cheltenham in 2023. He's 10, rising 11, but undeniably well handicapped on his form of only 18 months or so ago. So, yeah, I'm Eldorado Allen if the kind of rains stay away, if it goes really deep, Fugitive. But to be honest with you, George, I'll look at the prices late doors as he lines up. It may be one I swerve. It'll all be price dependent.
Okay, on to the Schlur Chase then, and all eyes on the return of John Bon, who is the 4-11 favourite here. Loda Sud 9-2, Liberty Hunter 13-2, Boot Hill 9-1, Edwardstone 9-1, 14-1, Calico and Matata 22-1 bar those. We'll see how many end up lining up on Saturday, but has a cracking each way shape to it at the moment, albeit because it's going to cut up, of course, firms, including priced up, paying 2 platers rather than the 3, despite there being more than 8 in there now, because surely 8 won't go to post. Andy, hard to make a case, surely, for John Bon to be a better 4-11?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't come on here and advise a horse like that. Yeah, be certainly out of kilter with the way I approach a race like this. And I'm glad we're covering this race on Tuesday as we speak, because, as you've quite rightly pointed out, George, there's a good chance that this 9-runner race, as it stands at the moment, will be down to sort of 5 or 6 come the off time. And if you have a bet now, early on in the week, there's a good chance that you can get that extra place, which might turn out to be quite crucial. I do think Loda Sud fits into that thievery each way category, which we all love. He was good in the early part of the season. Some horses just tend to be like that. The horse Digello, for instance, the other day, won that Charlie Hoyle. Look at his form; it tends to sort of peter out as the year goes on, and that was very much the case with Dan Skelton's charge last season. Not saying he was a total disaster come March/April, but they were looking for a much better run than 4th or 5th in the Arkle. He had every chance that day, and his last run of the season was of a similar level. But early on in the year, he really set the world alight. He was good first time out. He jumps well. He's got Cheltenham form, which is great. I think that's very important when you're betting in these races. And I think because Dan Skelton's looking to really kick on now and make hay while the sun shines, without the Mullins and the Elliott and de Bromhead battalions, breathing down his neck. 17 winners in the last fortnight. He's looking to sort of like, be picking up these races where perhaps other trainers have got the rest of the season sort of like to think about. And I know John Bon won this race last year, but he did only scramble home by a length and a quarter from Boot Hill. So it wasn't as if he won by 20 wickets and, he absolutely, hit the ball out the park. If he is going to be vulnerable, I think it might well be first time out against a Loda Sud, who will be ready first time out. I can't see Dan not having this race as arguably one of his main targets, if not one of the main targets of the season. He's unlikely to win a champion chase once all the big battalions come out. So, yeah, under those sort of reckonings, I think the 5-1 for Load of Sud is a must each way bet at this stage.
Yeah, as I say, Priced Up are a core to the two, as are every firm on oddschecker. So everyone's caught wind, Andy, I'm afraid, of the thievery that would be on offer. But even so, a lovely each way makeup. As you say, there probably will be 4, 5, 6 going to post here. Ed, how do you see this?
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Low Dusert, I think it's good value here. He definitely will be ready because he was ready for Ascot, wasn't he? Last weekend, whenever in the ground was too quick, so he was an on-runner. I think they've been itching almost like a greyhound out the traps to get him on the track. They can have no excuses in regards to the ground here. You know, he's won on good, he's won on soft, goes on anything really. His early season form, as Andy says, absolutely excellent. I mean, it all comes down to John Bon again, doesn't it? I mean, I don't buy the claim that John Bon doesn't act at Cheltenham. Well, he's won this race for the last 2 years, so I kind of refute that claim. It's probably, does John Bon bring his best to Cheltenham, which is obviously the kind of discussion which is very hard to quantify, isn't it? On balance, you'd probably say maybe no. The Cheltenham Festival, obviously at a higher level, he's not quite got the job done. And Andy says, beating Bootil a length and a half in this race 12 months ago isn't stunning form, considering he would be giving Bootil £11 in a handicap. So likewise, Load of Sud would be getting £13 if they met in handicapping terms. But John Bond's 9 rising 10. Load of Sud, only a 7-year-old, very good early season form at Cheltenham, and the Scouting Yard are absolutely on fire, aren't they? So I think John Bond's got a race on his hands here. It's not going to be a deep race. I say I've kind of got 6 going to post, but I think John Bond's got enough on his plate. I wouldn't be going near him at 4-11 if he wins. Good luck to him. But Load of Sud, I'll be disappointed if he jumps round and in this field of 5 or 6 finishes third or worse. Put it that way. So yeah, Load of Sud for the Skeltons, unexposed, and I think he's got a cracking chance of toppling John Bon.
Yeah, both guys in agreement there. Load of Suds at 5-1 here. We'll have a quick look at the Champion Chase market because obviously this does really play into that. With John Bon 10-1 for the Champion Chase as it stands, and Load of Suds 25-1. I mean, I'm guessing if we're not going to put up John Bon at 4-11 here, then you can't really fancy him 10-1 for the Champion Chase. And similarly, you both mentioned there, and Ed, do you agree? Load of Suds still kind of lacking the quality, probably needed to go forward and be a better, even at that price for the Cheltenham race.
Well, out of the two, Load of Sud at 25 is the only upside. I can't. John Bon is a 10-year-old winning a Champion Chase. I wouldn't be going near him at 25-1. To be honest with you, he's had his chances. I just don't think the festival suits. Load of Sud, it's not impossible. Like he comes out, he trounces John Bon here, and then goes on to the Clarence House or something, and in a division which, if you actually go through it, it's probably got a fairly wide open look to it, the Champion Chase kind of setup, hasn't it? I mean, it's been that way in recent years. We've had some upsets in this, so you have got a 7-year-old in Load of Sud who's still got a lot of potential upside to him, whereas John Bon, I say, isn't getting any younger. So John Bon, not for me in regards to March. Load of Sud, not for me in regards to March, but I can see an argument for him. That obviously, if he put in a career best here and beats John Bon, then he's single figures to win the Champion Chase 2 minutes after the race, isn't he? So just this race in itself, I think John Bon's got a little bit on his plate. I think Load of Sud will give him a real race. Okay,
on to Saturday, and starting with the Paddy Power Gold Cup, where Jaguar is the 4-1 favourite ahead of Il Ridotto at 9-2. These prices are with Priced Up bet at time of recording. Then Chenzo 5-1, Panic Attack 6-1, Coming Up Easy 9-1, Bad 12-1, Es Perfecto 12-1, Risking the Ground 12-1, The Company Sergeant 12-1, 14-1, Conyers Hill 16-1, Hunter Legend and Theatre Native 20-1. Bar those. Andy, who do you fancy in the big one on Saturday?
I think the market's pretty tight enough about a lot of the main protagonists here. I think they've squeezed the value out of this race from sort of a couple of weeks onwards down to today. Even like Panic Attacker was 14-1, I think, a week or two ago. He's now into sort of single figures 6-1, 7-1. So I think everyone's realising that this field is becoming a little bit more condensed, a little bit more obvious to predict perhaps what might win it. And I think they've probably got the market absolutely spot on here. I can't see any absolute standout value in it, if I'm being brutally honest. I think the winner will come from the first 4 in the market. They've all got the sort of like profile that you often look for in a winner of the Paddy Power. I mean, Il Ridotto arguably is the outlier there in that respect, because he's the one that's got the more miles on the clock and he's the most exposed. But at the same time, he's won this race before. We've seen horses year in, year out come back and run well. If not winning, running well in the Paddy Power Chase after they run well in the year before. And he was really good last year. Let's not to beat about in the bush. It probably wasn't a stellar renewal, but it was a career high. Nichols has obviously recognised that, Cheltenham is his place. And, he had a nice prep the other day behind Saint Segal, who did the form no harm the other day when he finished second again in a good race. He ran very much like a lot of Nichols horses did over that weekend at Chepstow, as if they'd needed the run. The yard's now in a lot better nick. He's off, I think, 142. He was 141 last year. So the timing's all looking right as well as for Real Doubt. And I think he's the horse that, if you had to say, right, I've got one horse running for my life here. If you were doing the old days where you were doing the Scoop Six or whatever it was, and you had a big rollover, and you think, right, this is the race. What horse is likely to run its race with no risks attached? I think El Redoto would definitely be the one. Of the others, Jaguar, I mean, obviously hugely impressive when he won the plate last year. He's unexposed. I think he's still potentially a 150 plus horse. And if that's the case, I think he's got to be going close. But, it's his first run of the season. And I like the way Sam Thomas is campaigning his horses so far this year. His chases have been on point all the way through the year so far. Steel Ally yesterday. Celtic Dino winning the Welsh Champion Hurdle. What was the other chase that won the other day?
Palacio. Oh, yeah, Palacio at Chepstow, didn't he?
Palacio at Chepstow, and he had a good horse of his won the other day. Won a beginner's chase at Utoxeter. Very nice horse that was punted off the boards. So they've all been prepared. They've all been ready, and they've pretty much by and large all done the job. And he looks as though 2.5 miles is going to suit him better than 2.5 when he ran against Kay de Burley, for instance, here last year. He was much better when he just got nailed by Bolster Bob in that really good race at Newbury. So I think this is a really, really tough call. It wouldn't surprise me if Vincenzo or Jaguar, the two unexposed horses in the race, were to take a huge leap forward and be competitive. But if you're asking me here and now, which one I think is almost certain to run his race and give the listeners a real good spin, it'll be El Redoto.
El Redoto 9-2 there, the selection for Andy, but healthy respect given to the two other market principals and Jaguar and Vincenzo. Ed, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think Andy's summed it up with the protagonists very well. The negative for El Redoto would be if we did get real heavy rain. I mean, it was pretty rattling last year when he went away. And he does love the test of the old course of good ground. Does have a bit of form on slower stuff, but I think, how should we say, it would probably take away his assets if it did get very soft towards the end of the week. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, Jaguar, where's the ceiling of his ability? He improved 30 pounds last year. He was 118 in October last year, ended the season 148. I just worry about his lack of prep run. I'd just like to have seen him have a bit of a tune-up because he's not the most fluent of jumpers either. I think he kind of gets from A to B rather than excels from A to B would be the phrase I'd use with him. I just think a bit of match practice might have helped him. I'm slightly disagreeing with Andy. I think there could be a bit of a boil over here. I think this is a weird old race. This is not... I hate using that phrase substandard renewal, George, because it's always within context of its time. But it is. There's no Imperial Commander. There's no exotic dancer. There's not even a long run running in here off top weight to finish third under 18 stone. I mean, Matata barely gets 2 miles. It'll be fascinating to see how he's going to be ridden over 2.5 if he takes his chance. A couple of absolute outliers in here. One is bad for Ben Pauling, who I've got down as a flat track Kempton good ground specialist. So they're looking at a soft ground race around Cheltenham for him. But he did fairly hack up last time out. And Ben Pauling says it's nothing to do with his ability in terms of his legs. It's all in the horse's head. And they think they found the key to him. I mean, if he turns up in the form he did at Kempton, he could easily just tank down the hill into contention here. But I've got no idea as to whether he's well handicapped or will handle conditions. But the one who's made my shortlist, and if he runs, I will back, is Paul Nolan's Conyers Hill. Towards the bottom of the weights here. Fascinating to listen to Paul Nolan's interview. Saying they always had this horse as a 2-miler. Perhaps they got it wrong. He's quite a strong traveller. And I think when you get a strong traveller, immediately you think lots of pace and 2 miles. Now, you go back to the Grand Annual at Cheltenham, obviously the minimum trip in March. And he looked like dropping out the back of the television at one point. But to his credit, he rallied and he finished 6th for 20 on that occasion. He wasn't disgraced at all. And since then, he's run 2 pretty good races. And I thought this warm-up run at Limerick, which kind of dovetails with Paul Nolan's theory, they said, well, step him up to 2-3. Let's see how he gets on. And if anything, at the end of his Limerick comeback run, I thought he travelled and jumped well and shaped like a horse who wants 2.5 miles. So they're going into unknown territory stamina-wise with him if he does run. I mean, I say Paul Nolan's words, not mine, where they hadn't committed as to whether he lines up or not. But I think he'd be crackers not to. So, I don't think this is the strongest of races. He's thoroughly unexposed. He's only 7. He's run well at the festival before. He'll go on any ground. I mean, rain won't be a problem for him, and he'll be near the bottom of the weights. In an open year, Conyers Hill, it's one of those for non-runner, no bet. You know what I mean, George. If he lines up, I'm back at Conyers Hill. That's the bottom line of it.
So maybe happier to take a shorter price on the day rather than risking it now at 14s. Conyers Hill 14 to 1 there, and some positive words about Bad as well. Who, I think Ben Pauling's been very open in the past about how much they rate his ability, and seemingly having found the key recently to get him to show it on track. Next up, we have from the horses Mouth Hurdle, Long Draw, and Supremely West, the 4 to 1 joint favourites with Classic King and Royal Infantry 6 to 1, Jinko Blue 8 to 1, Kicker Joe 10 to 1, 12 to 1, Lucky Manifest, and Marla Goo 14 to 1 bar those. It's always hard to follow Andy, so Ed will give you first run here.
Yeah, the cynical side of me says Long Draw's qualified for the Per Temps final. Probably doesn't want to win again. A mark of 138 would be a nice mark as far as March is concerned. I'm looking at for horses perhaps to be a bit more here and now. I wonder if the one of the more exposed campaigners in here, Gal Road, is not done. I watched intently his comeback run on Cheltenham, so on the old course. Very weak in the market, drifted to 22 to 1 under top weight. To his credit, ran really well till 2 out and then just blew up. Quite frankly, just ran out of steam. And I just wonder if he'll come on for that. I was looking back through his kind of past. 2021, he had a reappearance run, was weak in the market, blew the cobwebs away, was beaten 20 lengths, and then he came forward to this meeting and absolutely bolted up. And again, he's got history doing that in the past. A couple of years ago, he went to Perth, first time out was beaten, second time at Ascot, won by half the straight. He's a big old stuffy individual. He just might have needed the run. And look, we know he acts at Cheltenham. He's got lots of winning form in the past. I don't think 146 is impossible. So, put it this way, I don't think Gal Road's going to have his eye on the Per Temps final or big targets in March as a 10-year-old. He's going to be a horse they're going to look to try and cash in and win prizes here and now. Whereas I think there perhaps a few others in here have got their eyes on prizes later on in the season, be the way I'd sum it up. So, I am with Gal Road. If Royal Infantry ran, I would dovetail and I'd be with Royal Infantry as well. But it sounds like the Skeltons may be looking at the 2.5 miler on the card instead. But I actually think Royal Infantry would be well suited by 3 miles. But who knows where he goes. But in absence of any other information, I'll be a small each way play on Gal Road. I think he'll just come on for that seasonal reappearance.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Andy, how do you see this?
I think the race to concentrate on with regards to form for this race was the race that was won by Marchantou at the showcase meeting. That was the best time figure that we've got of all the 2 days that were run on that weekend in October. That was a very, very strongly run race. I think the winner's potentially quite smart. Whether he ends up being like the Wool Park who won that race the year before, I think, and goes down the sort of stayers hurdle route, he's open to question. He'll have to improve significantly, but I think the number that he did on that occasion suggests he's not a million miles off. We'll find more about him at Haydock, I think, the following weekend. But the big eye catcher that day for me was Supremely West. Now, this is a horse that I won't say I've followed, but I have backed him a few times. And he's been a source of frustration because when he was with Dr. Newland, with the greatest respect to the horse, he was a terrible jumper. Getting from A to B wasn't easy for him. In respect to the horse, he's only very small. So he does find jumping hurdles quite tricky. But having watched him at Cheltenham for New Connection for Dan Skelton, his jumping seemed to be a lot better. I think they must have worked on that department and he was really good. Harry rode him very much to get him round and get him in contention to qualify for the final behind Marchantou. And it was a run full of promise. He wasn't knocked about, But the softer the ground, the better for his chances. You go back to some of his runs last season. I remember that day when he won at Haydock. He absolutely routed his opposition when the ground was heavy. I'm not saying he needs it heavy, but like I say, the soft, the more towards soft, the more his stamina comes into play. And I think they would have learnt plenty from him from the other day. Obviously, long draw's got to come into the equation, but I'm not necessarily sure about him regards soft or heavy ground. I think he's probably won slightly better ground. I'd certainly respect Classic King. He ran perfectly respectably behind French Ship, a horse we'll come on to in a second. I think that's good form as well. But I think Supremely West is a really good bet here. I think you said 5-1. Was it something like that?
4-1.
4-1. Yeah, 4-1. Yeah, not the bet of the century, but a stronger bet as the week progresses if the rain comes.
Yeah, good stuff. Supremely West is 4-1 with priced up as it stands from the horse's mouth hurdle. We've got the Greatwood now. We've got Alexi and Celtic Dino both 5-1, Mirabad 6-1, Gibbs Island 10-1, Bones on Fire and Iberico Lord both 12-1, 14-1 bar those. Andy, how do you see this?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm really boring here. I can't come up with anything original to say other than I think the win will come from the Welsh Champion Hurdle, the best hurdle race run so far this season on figures, on form. It's just a classy heat. Celtic Dean have been prepared for the race because of connections, got the job done, had to be lifted home in the end to win and beat Alexi, who I thought won with any amount in hand next time out at Ascot. They backed it as if defeat was out of the question. I think it was 7-1 anti-post in the week. It went off 13-8. I know there was non-runners here, there and everywhere. But he made mincemeat of his opponents at Ascot. And I did see that the horse that finished, I think it was fifth, Faisal, whatever you call it, from that Ascot race, won at Wincanton the other day. So you know which route I'm going down here. I think Alexi's a really good, solid each way bet. The only reason I think, because I think he'll handle the ground slightly better than Celtic Dino. Celtic Dino, I think, is a real good ground horse. You know, he when he won early on last season, they said that he wouldn't want extremes. He was good when he rattled off that quick ground at Wincanton. He ran okay. I think it was in the Dove Cut at Kempton when the ground was good. His only modest run was at Aintree when the ground was soft. He just didn't handle it that day. He ran okay, but he wasn't the same horse. 12 stone on soft ground, if it is going to be quite bad ground come the weekend, that could be a major issue. So I think Alexi is more likely to handle conditions than Celtic Dino. They're very closely matched on that Welsh champion hurdle form. And Alexi's gone on to improve subsequently with another run under his belt. So out of the two, I prefer Alexi, certainly at these prices anyway.
Alexi 5-1, joint favourite. The selection for Andy. Ed?
What price is Iberico Lord, George? Because
12-1.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. If he crack a record fresh, obviously won this race 2 years ago. I've gone down a rabbit warren of weather, saying up to another 40 millimetres of rain Thursday into Saturday. I mean, if that's the case, we're going to have proper winter ground for by the time the Greatwood Hurdle comes around. Iberico Lord loves the mud, doesn't he? Absolute mudlark. Loads of good form when the mud is flying. Of course, the distance form has won this race before. Chasing didn't really work out. Not the biggest of individuals. I think they've scrapped that plan. Horse's also got a very good record fresh. I think he's won first time out the last 2 seasons. So he's £5 higher than when last successful. He's obviously a lot higher than when he first won the Greatwood. But he's been in some tough tasks. You know, this is calmer waters compared to a champion hurdle, etc. Iberico Lord. Okay, Nicky Henderson hasn't really got going yet, has he? It feels like. He's had 3 winners in the last fortnight. But this could be the type of horse with conditions to suit, I think, who could easily have more to offer being only a 7-year-old. So, again, it's with a run. But if Iberico Lord lines up on soft ground, I am involved.
Good stuff. Iberico Lord 12-1 in the Greatwood. We've got 5 or so minutes just to get the guys' best bets elsewhere. So, Andy, I know you've got a list of a few, but can you give us maybe 1 or 2 strongest from elsewhere on the card over the weekend at Cheltenham?
Yeah, going back to the Friday, and there's a couple that stand out for me there. I've had at least one anti-post bet on one of them. I quite like Dan Skelton's Be Aware in the novices chase. I'm presuming that they're going to step him up to 3 mile 1. I know he's entered in the 2 mile race, and maybe the ground is going to be the determining factor which way he goes. But I think he's going to be better off running over further distances rather than 2 miles. looks as though he was always on his head over 2 miles last season. They stepped him up to 2.5 on his chasing debut. It might have been 2.5 actually around Stratford. He was really good that day. Thought he stayed on very, very strongly off the back of a good, strong gallop. The time figure that we got for that race was exceptionally good. I'd almost say that he'll run at this meeting. I can't see why he wouldn't. Get him round Cheltenham to give him an idea of where they stand. And we know that John McConnell's a real, not necessarily target trainer, but he does really well when he brings his horses over this side of the RSC. He almost pulled up the shock of all shocks last season with Heads Up when he finished second in the champion bumper beyond Bambino Fever, which is excellent form. And I watched him at Listel the other week at the Harvest Festival, and his jumping was very, very good. They rode him from the front. They ran him like a good horse. He never missed a beat. He won with any mount in hand. The time figure was good. And they're bringing him to Cheltenham on Friday to presumably, give him a sight with regards before coming to the festival. I'd expect him to win because I don't think that race on Friday is the strongest. And my best bet of the weekend, if it does run, and I presume it will run, is the aforementioned Friendship of Philip Hobbs and Jonathan White's, who's due to run in the intermediate hurdle on Saturday. I don't think he's got any other entries, so there's no ifs and buts attached to him. I think he's around about 6-1, 7-1 at time recording. Really like him. He should have won, or probably would have won, the Welsh Champion Hurdle. Sorry, not the Welsh Champion, the Silver Trophy at Chepstow, but for falling 3 out. It was a funny fall because he caught the top of the hurdle, then about 2 strides after he'd hit the floor. Not really sure what went on there. It was almost as if he got tripped up by a sniper. But the form has worked out really well. We saw Eddie Wood win yesterday. Pagan won a listed chase next time out. I think there's been other horses that have come out of it and franked the form. I'm pretty sure, like I say, he would have won that race comfortably had he stayed on his feet. And he absolutely dotted up when he won here last time out. Loved the way he travelled. Never looked in a moment as though he wasn't going to win. He just looks a horse right on top of his game, and I think 136 still underestimates his abilities. And he won't mind whichever the way the ground goes. I think he won on soft or heavy ground at Chepstow last season, and he's got track form. So I think he's a complete gift with 1 or 2 firms that have stuck the neck out with him so far.
Okay, yeah, on oddschecker, Be Aware is 5-1 best price. Heads Up is 9-4 best price, and Friendship is 7-1 best price. Hopefully
7-1 is mythical.
Okay, there we go. Ed, you've got about 1 minute to tell us your best bet.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree with Andy. 7-1 Friendship, Fracker's price. He could start favourite. I'm taking Andy on. He's got my Heads Up into 3:30 on Friday. I'm with Team Scout and Great Fleet. Thought this horse was the eye catch of all eye catchers in the October meeting behind Conman John. That was over 3 miles. Absolutely tank round. Wasn't expected to do a lot that day as a 20-1 poke, and quite simply did not get home. Down to 2 miles, 5 furlongs. Less taxation on stamina. Blended bit of soft ground. I think that'll be fine. So Great Fleet 3:30. Yeah, with Friendship. And on Sunday, I do like Heracles Westwood for the Warren Greatrex team. I think that could be a real slog. That's going to be the 3.5 mile staying handicap chase. This horse has plenty of stamina and space, and again, has a very good early season form on soft ground. So yeah, Great Fleet, Friendship, Heracles Westwood, my 3 others for the weekend.
Good stuff. Great Fleet 7-1, and I don't think any price is about at the moment for 8-1 best price on oddschecker. So guys, check out Priced Up because they'll endeavour to match those. Thank you very much to Ed. Thank you very much to Andy for sharing their tips, thoughts, insight. Have a great weekend at Cheltenham. Make sure you sign up for a Priced Up account if you haven't got one already. Plenty of price boosts up there and new customer offers that you can find over the course of Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So do check out those. Oddschecker have you covered for all your fixed odds betting needs. So check out Oddschecker for all the best prices, booking offers, free bets across different sports, and for Andy's tips every day of racing. And we'll be back for another episode shortly of the Cheltenham Roar. Enjoy the weekend's racing, and please ensure you're gambling responsibly.